It's so good to be with you. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is going to be an amazing chat, but I'm going to need your help. Yes, I am a coach, and yes, we're going to be talking about the Leapfrog Champion's Guide to Thriving Under Pressure. Okay, so I'm going to give you the things that a coach is supposed to give you. You know what a coach is, right? A coach is not a person that just asks you questions and makes you solve your own problems. That's weak coaching. In the Olympics, you'll never find an athlete without an Olympic coach, and you'll never find an Olympic coach who asks their athlete, what do you think you should do? What do you think you should try? An Olympic level coach's job is to provide mindset, strategy, and tactics for handling whatever game you're in. And that's what I'm here to do today. And I'm hoping for the next 60 minutes, you will let me be your coach. Would that be okay with you? If I'm the best executive coach in UAE, and by the way, I have no idea the criteria by which you would even decide that. That's ridiculous. But if I'm the best coach in the UAE, then it makes sense that I'm here with the best digital team in banking in the region. Is that right? May I be your coach? Just for an hour. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Good. So when I say, are you ready? You say, yes, coach. Can we try that? Good. Are you ready?
Yes, coach.
One more time. Are you ready?
Yes, coach.
One more time. Are you ready?
Yes, coach.
Perfect. Because we're going to talk about why you're here. Let's just imagine for a minute that banking is a game. It's a game. It's not a sacred game. It's just an economic game, like oil and gas or luxury shoes. And in this game, there are teams, lots of teams, and they're competing with each other for the resources that are won when teams win championships in this game. And you, as a player, you've been invited to play on the best team in your game in this region. And this game has so much power, so much influence, that it has the ability to feed 9,000 families all at the same time because of what you're winning. And you're winning. I mean, I saw the presentation this morning by Pedro. You saw it? Yeah. Clearly, you're winning, right? You must be doing something really well. So imagine you're a top-level player on this top-level team. How do you keep winning when you're already in the lead? You ever thought about that? If you're not chasing anyone, if there's nobody ahead of you to benchmark with, how do you continue to win? How do Olympic-level teams continue to win when they're the ones that are always in the lead? You're not chasing anyone. You have to continually innovate. You have to continually push boundaries, do things that have, by definition, never been done before. And if you break a world record, that is something that, by definition, no human has ever accomplished before. That's what a world record is. And that's what Olympic teams do all the time. They break world records. You thought about what it means to be like a dream team like that? Have you heard that phrase, dream team? Good. Do you know where it comes from? It comes from the Olympics. In 1992, 1996, and 2000, the U.S. Olympic basketball team was called the Dream Team. It was an amazing thing. What I find most amazing about this Dream Team is that it was never the same team. They won in 1992, and between 92 and 96, only 5 players returned. Between 96 and 2000, only 1 player returned. Each of those 3 Olympics, they had a different coach. And yet they kept winning. Not 1 player was on the team in 2000 that had started with them in 1992. So this is my first question to you, and I want some answers. What kind of team wins consistently if the players keep changing? Most of you in the room, you've been here what, like a year and a half, 2 years? A lot of you are really new? Yeah. That doesn't make a difference if you're on the right team in the right game. So what are the qualities of a team that keeps winning over and over again, even if the players keep changing? Tell me. Yell.
Legacy.
Who said legacy? Yeah, come here. You get a ninja frog. Go get your frog. Yeah. What else? Vision. Perfect. Ninja frog for you. What else? Coaching. Good. Ninja frog for... I'm not going to throw it at you. I'm not a mean coach. I'm a good coach. I use my powers for good. Yes, coaching, good coaching. Even if the coach changes, if you have good quality coaching, you're going to be a good dream team. Anything else? Passion. Who said passion? Did you say passion? Okay. Passion is a great word. I love that word. It's one of my core values, passion. But do you know what the word actually means? It comes from Latin. In Latin, it's called passio, and it means to suffer. Passion is the willingness to suffer for what you love or what you're doing or what you believe in. If it is not hurting, it is not a passion. But if you're only as strong as the team you're in, passionate, legacy-oriented, getting good coaching, very disciplined, then your team must only be as strong as you are as a player, right? The team is the strength of its constituents. So, who are you as a player? Are you an all-star player on this dream team? What does it mean to be an all-star player? Well, when we look at all-star players like Michael Phelps, you know Michael Phelps? Have you heard this? Another Olympian. 5 Olympic Games, 28 medals, 23 of which were gold. And then you know what he did after the 5th Olympic Games? He spent a year and a half trying to prevent himself from committing suicide. Fell into a deep depression. There was nothing left to challenge himself with. There was nothing more to develop. He had reached the end of his game. So what do you want out of your life, first of all? I want you to be a little bit selfish and a little bit greedy. I want you to think. And don't tell me, oh, I want a more comfortable chair and I want my company to win. None of you wake up passionate about banking. Right? Okay, let's just say out loud what everybody knows and nobody's willing to say. We do not wake up in the morning thinking, oh man, I can't wait to go and balance another spreadsheet today. I'm just really looking forward to answering another customer service request. Nobody wakes up passionate about banking. What are you passionate about? You've got goals, right? You've got family. You want to educate your kids. You want to take care of your parents. You want to build a nice house. Go on a vacation from time to time. You want to drive a nice car, retire at a reasonable age? Fine. That's why you're here. And the truth is, that's why you're all here. None of you wakes up passionate about banking. But this is your game. This game, being an amazing player on this, do you think Lionel Messi wakes up thinking, oh man, I can't wait to kick a football around on grass again today? No, it's not the what of what you do. It's who you're with. It's the members of your team. It's the winning. You love winning, which is what we're doing. And it's your personal goals for your personal life that really drive you to perform as an all-star player. So what kind of a player are you going to have to be in order to get the kind of life that you want? One of the most incredible lessons I've learned from studying Michael Phelps as a case study was this: own your craft. Whatever it is that you do for this economic community, your efforts is feeding their families, and their efforts are feeding your family. Own your craft. Play your position to the best of your ability and continually try to develop yourself. Work when no one's looking, which is like 95% of the time. We think we can manage people because we're arrogant. We can't manage people. People manage themselves. 98% of the time, they're not being managed at all. And what does an apex predator with 1 million years of successful survival and adaptation instinct in them do when they're not being managed? Whatever they want. Each and every one of you is the product of 10,000 successful generations of survival and adaptation. When you're not being managed, you will do whatever you want. If you feel that your being here helps you helps to contribute to your achievement of your personal goals for your personal life, you will work hard. You will own your craft. You will collaborate. You will have that vision. If you don't, you will be passive, maybe actively disengaged. You will use the resources available to you from this economic tribe to tear it down from the inside just a little bit. Number 3, respect your mental health. This is a really important one. And this is when we're going to go into strategy. Remember my job as a coach, right? Mindset, strategy, tactics. We're going to cover all 3. The strategy we're going to talk about today is a mental strategy, it's a psychology strategy based on this. The only way to stay in the lead is to continually run faster than yourself. By definition, you will have to do things that you've never done before. Humans love adventure. We love it. Anybody love adventure? Where was the coolest place you went? Sorry? What was the coolest place you visited? Sorry, where? Base camp? Really? Wow, awesome. Yes? Underwater. Oh, you went scuba diving. That's amazing. That's really cool. It was uncomfortable in the beginning though, right? Were you scared? Good, good, good. Because if you want to develop yourself faster today than you were yesterday, you're going to have to, by definition, do something that you've never done before. You will have to face that fear. You will have to embrace that change. And that happens when we turn change into adventure. So I do tests like this on myself quite a lot, as you'll see. If you ever browse my LinkedIn, you'll understand I'm kind of addicted to doing the hard thing. I do the hard thing because it's hard. I do the fearful thing because it's scary. I do the risky thing because it's risky. That's the value for me. I value those things. And so when I was coming up with a challenge for myself to try to develop myself as a coach, a mental challenge that would really, really hurt me, I wanted to design something that required passion. It required suffering. It required the difficult thing. So I have a crippling fear of heights. This is really embarrassing, actually. When I climb up a ladder about 2 meters, I start shaking, sweating. My wife had to hang all of the pictures in our house, and it's very embarrassing, a little emasculating for me, to be honest. So I decided I needed to tackle that with this. In September, I was shaking when I did my first tandem jump. I was shaking, sweating, swearing, yelling at the little caveman in my head that spent the last million years avoiding heights, because that's how my ancestors survived. They avoided heights. You don't stand on a height like that. That's stupid. Why would you be there? So I'm fighting a million years of evolutionary psychological pressure. And there I am. That's my angry face. I'm angry with myself, with my history, with my inability to hang pictures in my own home. It's really embarrassing. And on the right, that's me in November. I have since then learned to fly. It was after maybe 10 days of jumping when I realized that I wasn't anxious anymore the night before. I wasn't losing sleep. And I had learned to do something that scared me completely. And I had learned to do it for my own good. I learned a lot about myself, about mental health, and about neuroplasticity in that process. Sometimes, not sometimes, you're an apex predator. Every day you should be taking some kind of leap in the direction of something you've never tried before. For yourself, if not for your team, and for your team, if not for your economic tribe of EMBD. Now, the strategy I want to discuss, the mental one, is complexity. We talk about Leapfrog here, right? Leapfrog, and I love that. Leapfrog is amazing, okay? The frog has a really significant weakness. Did you know? I don't know if you know this. Did you learn this in high school? You're smiling because you know what I'm going to say. Did you know that a frog, if you take a regular frog and put it in a kettle of cold water, put it on the stove, and just heat that water slowly, eventually the frog will die. Even if it's strong enough to hop out, it just never will. Do you know why? Sorry? It's comfortable in the water, even to the point of death. There's no trigger mechanism in the frog's head to say, hey, stupid, the water's too hot, it's continually getting hotter, you should jump out. The reason the frog has not got a trigger mechanism to tell it to jump out of the water is because none of its ancestors ever had to deal with hot water. None of its ancestors ever dealt with water that hot. So it doesn't have that survival instinct. It will just sit there until it dies. So when we talk about complexity in our workplaces, how many of you would say that your work is more complex now than it's ever been before? your workday, the amount of pressure that you're under, the things on your task list, your KPIs consistently getting higher, the demands on your time and attention consistently rising. I see you. I see you, yes. Yeah, look, it's the same for everybody. The whole world is doing this now. Everybody's doing this. Do you know in the 1980s, when I grew up, the average number of human interactions a person would have every day was about 300 interactions. Do you know how much it is now? 4,500 human interactions every day. That's your average. That's 10x too. So you want to 10x your productivity, you want to 10x your adaptability, you want to 10x your ability in your game, your ability as a team in your game? We need to recognize all of the pressures that are 10xing around us. The game itself is getting more complex. You will check your email an average of 74 times every day. You will spend 28% of your work week actually in email. You will be interrupted an average of 11 times every day for a cost of 2 hours every day. This is an average, by the way. You will receive 32 notifications across all of your devices every hour, and you will spend 2 days a week in meetings. Does that sound about right? Some of you are saying double, yeah, and this is an average, so for some of you it is double, it really is, okay? It really is. So when we deal with complexity, right, as a strategy, the complexity that's rising is the temperature of the water. The kettle is the environment that you're in, which either holds in or dissipates that heat, and you are the frog. So we're gonna have to deal with all of these things. First, we're all in a lot of hot water, and this is the cycle that's going on. By the way, this is not sexy, this is not slick, but this is real science. So, automation, productivity, and expectation. How many of you realize that over the last 10 years, every time your productivity goes up, the expectation goes up? And then what do? You have to learn something new. You automate, adapt, you augment yourself with something, and then your productivity goes up to adapt to the expectation. And then what happens? As soon as the productivity is up, your expectation goes up. It's not just you that's experiencing this. Everybody in customer service knows that today's delightful experience is tomorrow's minimum expectation. That's the same in your family. That's the same with your friends. That's the same with your workmates, your team, and your boss. Today's delightful experience is tomorrow's minimum expectation. How can we possibly manage when the temperature of the water is consistently rising? Do we have a trigger, a flag, something that will tell us that it's actually too complex? I get phone calls from my executive coaching clients at least twice a year, from a hospital bed or from their own home or from an airplane when they're flying away somewhere, and they say, I'm burnt out, I'm overwhelmed, it just all got a little bit too much. I had an anxiety attack, I had a heart attack, my doctors told me I've got heart disease as a result, I've got high blood pressure, my cholesterol is through the roof. I get these phone calls from my athletes, my executive athletes. Because the reality is we do not have a trigger mechanism. We will have to adapt, or we will all have anxiety attacks. We will all end up overwhelmed. So let's look at the mechanisms of this. Let's look at how this works. The one mechanism, of course, is your kettle, right? This is your team, your people, the people around you. If you have good collaboration, good communication, if you're supporting each other, if you're passing the ball, if you're cheering for each other, then yeah, it's going to dissipate a lot of that complexity. It's not going to matter as much. It's not going to be as impactful for you. You'll be able to deal with a lot more when you recognize that you're standing on somebody else's head from time to time, and sometimes they're standing on your head. This is not a job. This is half of your life. It should be as meaningful as possible because this is how you contribute to society in exchange for a share of the resources. None of you are in this alone. I know you wake up thinking, hustle, 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 me, I've got to do this all by myself. You've never, ever gone through an entire day by yourself. Are you with me? Are you ready?
Yes, Coach.
Good. Good. When we feel recognized, trusted, and fairly treated at work, we create the kind of kettle that dissipates the heat for all of us all at once. What are the kinds of things that you experience here at ENBD, whether yourself or in your team or as a company, that help you to feel recognized, trusted, and fairly treated? Give me a few examples. Raise your hand so I can point to you. Yes? Appreciation. What kind of appreciation matters to you the most?
Very respectful.
Ex-
As long as it's appreciation and the work that you're doing at your office.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Let me tell you something about appreciation that no boss really wants to know. Bosses appreciate you in their heads. I know that you don't get to experience that, and it's not as impactful for you as you would hope, but they do appreciate you. They just don't tell you about it. For every time a boss appreciates you verbally, physically, they say, hey, good job, they reward you with something. They've thought about you 10 times at least. What else? What else helps to dissipate the heat of this complexity?
When your opinions are being heard.
When your opinions are being heard. Yes. You do not have to be agreed with nearly as much as you need to be heard. Humans, most of the time, will be okay if you don't agree with us. But we're not okay if we feel unheard, misunderstood, or devalued. I'm okay with you doing something that I don't agree with, but I'm not okay if I feel misunderstood in that process. We just need to be heard. Anything else? Sorry? Trust. A default to trust. Yes. A default to trust also means a default to accepting mistakes. Let me tell you, you're in digital, right? You're in digital, you're in banking. It's a very fast-moving, very high-transforming industry. If you're not making mistakes, you are not running fast enough. You know that in Silicon Valley we say, move fast, break things, right? You've heard that? Do you know why we say that? Because the cost of breaking things is far lower than the cost of not moving fast. We need to be able to trust each other in order to build that kind of environment where we can dissipate the heat for all of us all at once. But it is not in the frog's nature to jump out of the pot. It is in your nature to accept all of the complexity that is given to you. Your family, your friends, Amazon, the advertisements you respond to on your social media, all of it. And you will continue to accept that complexity until it overwhelms you. You don't have a mechanism in your head that says that's enough. So, this is the challenge we're facing now. The strategy is we dissipate the heat, or we uplift the frog. We got to do something about that frog, man. What do you think we can do with the frog? Let's do a quick test, frog test. Everybody stand up. A quick drill. Are you ready? Yes, all right, are you ready? Yes, thank you. I would like you to draw a circle with your left hand and a triangle with your right hand, and I'd like you to count to 10 while you're doing it. Yeah, no. This is not working at all. Okay, great test. Great test. Anybody feel like they can really do it? You feel like you can really do? You want to come and show us? No, he's not. Okay, not that confident. All right, good. Okay, everybody, sit down. I want to introduce you. I want to introduce you to one of the most painful realities of evolutionary neuroscience, and that is the limitation that you have right here. You have a bottleneck. It's a terrible bottleneck. We have other ultimate thresholds, like we need to live in about 37 degrees Celsius. We can't live below 35 or above 40 for any period of time, otherwise we'll die. We have to augment ourselves with clothes in that case, or AC machines. We need about 21% oxygen density in order to stay alive, because that's the kinds of creatures we are and the environments that we've adapted to. And we can only process 120 bits per second of information right here in your frontal cortex. Your frontal cortex is the newest part of your brain. It handles your sense of self, your sense of time, your sense of free will, all the narratives you say about yourself. I'm too old, too young, too fat, too thin, too stupid, too smart, too tall, whatever it is, all of those narratives, those are all here. And it handles about 120 bits of processing power. Do you know what that is? You're all data people. 7 items on a checklist, about 1 minute of video, or 2 people talking. If your spouse and your child are both talking to you at the same time, you are overwhelmed. That is all you can handle. This is one of the most horrible limitations of the human brain, is this frontal cortex. Very powerful gear, but really narrow bandwidth, so that's what we need to address first. But these expectations are on the rise, so I'm going to give you now, we're going to shift. Oh, you can take pictures of my slides, that's fine. It's okay. I don't mind. Actually, at the end of this, I'm going to give you a QR code, and if any of you want what's coming up right now, I will send it to you. What I'm working on is a set of tactics. This is not sexy. It is strategic. It's not elegant, but it works. And this set of tactics, if you want it, I will give you a way to augment yourself, to automate some of the things that you're doing that will help you to concentrate on other things so you can be more efficient, make more high-quality decisions every day, and seemingly find more time in the day. Would you like that? Yes. Would it improve the quality of your life if I could help you find more time in the day? Okay, so let's do that. Are you ready? I'm going to extend the length of your day. Are you ready? Yes. All right, good. This is tactical. So take notes, but also remember, I will send this to you if you really want it. All right, we're going to need a new kind of frog. This is what I call the Leapfrog Ninja Protocol. Do you like my Leapfrog? You like that? AI did that. I was like, I need a Leapfrog Ninja. Dolly gave me that. That was awesome. Yeah, so this is the Leapfrog Ninja Protocol. It consists of 12 steps: value, dump, triage, delegate, batch, block, prioritize, harvest, respect, focus, unitask, and archive. One or two of these will change your life. If you can do all 12 of them, your LinkedIn profile will look very much like mine. Okay? Actually, it's funny because this is a product of my executive coaching clients saying how. Like, it happened to me a lot. People don't ask me why I've done what I've done, okay? But they ask me how all the time. How do you do it? How do you manage all of this? Plus, I've got 5 successful businesses. I've got 5 kids. I do a lot. And I take 10 weeks of vacation every year, during which I'm actually on vacation.
How?
Yeah, how? I'll tell you. I don't manage my time the way that most people manage their time. So I want to give you my tools. This is what I do. I'd like you to adapt this to yourself. But these 12 steps are going to change your life if you implement them. 1, value your time. This is not a rehearsal. You only get one life. Once today is gone, you are never getting it back, and you don't know how many days in your life you will get. Every single day you show up to work and you invest half of your life in that economic game. I think anything that a human does with half of their life should be as meaningful as possible, don't you? Right, good. So value your time. If you schedule time with yourself for meditation, for prayer, for exercise, if you schedule time with yourself for reading or study, you protect that time out of respect for yourself. Time is the only fair resource. It's the only thing that God has given all of us at exactly the same amount, exactly the same pace every day. And for you and me and Elon Musk, it ticks by 1 second per second. That's it. You're never going to get more. We just have to be able to use it better. So value your time. When you make a commitment to yourself, keep it. And value others' time too. Let me ask you a question. If Sheikh Mohammed phoned you, what's your name? Sorry? Nikunj. If Sheikh Mohammed, his office, called you and said, Nikunj, I need you to be at Emirates Towers for a meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Please tell me at what time you would show up.
Right now. Go now.
Yeah, you'd be leaving. I'll leave now. I'll sleep on the grass. It's fine. I'll sleep under the Future Museum. What time? 8:45. 8:45. You would be there 15 minutes early. Why? Because it's Sheikh Mohammed. Right, this is the answer I get in every culture, in every country in the world, and from every person I ever talk to. The really horrible part of that answer is, regardless of your culture, your language, your religion, or your personality type, your ability to be on time has nothing to do with your time management skills. It has everything to do with the value you place on the person with whom you are meeting. Because if it was somebody more important to you, you would be 15 minutes early. If it was somebody whose life you valued more than your own, you might be half an hour early or more. We use time as a dominance language now. We communicate with each other. We're not allowed to hit each other anymore. That's not civilized, right? We can't hit each other in order to assert dominance. So we assert dominance by stealing little bits of each other's lives and not apologizing for it. Value others' time. If you're careless with others' time, it's a sign that you don't value their life as much as your own. And if you're careless with your own time, it's a sign that you don't value your own life. Respect your past self for making those good decisions. Honor that time. Number 2, dump everything. I use a Kanban board. Some of my clients use like a list that they just dump everything. This can only handle 7 pieces of information, 1 minute of video, or 2 people talking. You need to empty this as fast as possible. The reason you can only handle 7 pieces of information at a time is because none of your ancestors ever lived complex enough lives that they would have to remember more than 7 things at once. We're not evolved with that. So if you want 8 things from the grocery store, you need a list. Am I right? Good. Dump everything. Find a place where you can take everything that occurs to you. I need to buy my wife flowers. I have to write that email. I need to phone that person. I have to read this book. I have to watch that movie. I need to call my kids. Anything that occurs to you, take it out of here, put it there. Outsource that list of everything. I use a Kanban board for this. This is Trello. I started on Trello a few years ago. I've recently switched to Monday.com because there's more automations you can use on that. I'm not promoting any particular tool. I don't care which tool you use, but I am promoting a Kanban strategy for your life management. Dump everything. Number 3, triage. Take the things that have to be done today, have to be done by you, and have to be done. Put them on your today list. Triage only twice a day. Do not consistently look at your list. Dump everything all the time. Triage twice a day, once in the morning, once just after lunch. That's pretty much all you're going to need. And then you build that priority list from your triage. Delegate. Anything that can be done by somebody else or should be done by somebody else should be done by somebody else. We all want to be awesome players on amazing teams in our games. And for that, we need to be able to be doing what only we can do. If you're still micromanaging your team because, well, let's face it, you can do it faster and you can do it better, that's not efficient for you. You have to be able to give those things away. At the time when you triage, delegate. Send it now, send it now, send it now. Put that on somebody else's dump list. Number 5, batch. Put similar items together that should be together. I never just write an email and then switch to WhatsApp and then go to a phone call, because the cognitive embodiment of those things is different. When I'm in front of my email, I write all of my emails all at once. Batch, because it's simpler. You know, you're making about 35,000 decisions every day. Is that right? 35,000 decisions. Do you know when decision fatigue hits in? It's getting earlier and earlier in the day now, at around 2. Most of you will not be able to make a good high-quality decision after 2 p.m. because you're consistently multitasking, or you think you're multitasking. That's a myth. Switching back and forth from one thing to the next thing requires more energy for your brain, so it fatigues earlier during the day. Batching things together means you can do them all at once. And so for me, I'll batch a number of things together, videos I want to record, books I want to read, whatever, and then I put it into my calendar. Even if it's next week, I block that time to get that batch done. Block. This is strategy time. So anything that has to be done by you but is never going to be urgent, your MBA, you want to write a book, you want to develop a new code, you want to develop your own app, you have to schedule that time. Most of the complaints that I get from my executives is that they don't have time for strategy because they're too busy firefighting. And the very first assignment I give them is to schedule 6 hours of strategy time into each week, starting from 3 weeks from now, for at least 6 months. And then to protect that time, you have to put it in first. And you have to have a good schedule in order to, or a good calendar program in order to manage that. Prioritize based on 6-month priorities. 10-year vision is too long. Tomorrow is too urgent. Have a kind of 6-month view of what you want to accomplish in your job, in your family, in your life. Make your priorities based on that. If it's going to help you to accomplish 6 months from now, then it's a priority. Harvest. And this is one that you can probably use. Most of us are still making our meetings in 30-minute blocks. Are you using 30-minute blocks or 15-minute blocks at EMBD? 30 minutes? It's too long.
We use 3 hours.
Yeah, you sometimes 3-hour meetings, right?
We use 3 hours in meeting.
Use 3-hour time blocks for meetings? Sometimes. Yes, I'm sure. It's too long. Harvest time from those meetings. If you're the leader of the team or you don't actually have to be there, you can walk in and say, look, I've got 10 minutes for this. Tell me what I need to know and what you need from me. You can harvest time from those meetings. You don't have to spend the 30 minutes that's blocked there. A meeting will expand to fill whatever time space you allow it. Sorry? Yes, exactly, Parkinson's law. You know what, Jeff Bezos was really good at this. He said, no more sitting during meetings, no chairs, it's too comfortable. We stand up. If you want something on the agenda, you send it ahead of time. Everybody reads the agenda. If you walk in without reading the agenda, we're not going to listen to you. If it takes longer than 15 minutes, it's too long. You say you want to remain on top, right? You want to be the fastest team in the digital banking game? Fine. These are the tactics that the fastest teams in the world use. 15 minutes is too long. Respect your calendar. Whatever it is that you schedule, and I schedule everything, my gym, my kids, stuff on the weekend, because I don't want to have to hold all of that information in my head. Actually, it's a recurring conversation my wife and I have, usually around 8 o'clock in the evening. Today, she will ask me at 8 o'clock in the evening today, she'll say, what do you have up tomorrow? And I'll say, I have no idea. And then I'll take out my phone and I'll look at my calendar because I've outsourced all of that information. I know here I can't hold a lot of information, but in my phone, I can hold all of it. Respect your calendar, respect your past self and your unrecoverable time, and respect your decision fatigue threshold. At some point, you're just going to get too tired to make good quality decisions. Use the remaining time to connect with people, build your team, talk, have meetings, right? That's when you do that. In the beginning of the day, when you're faster and more accurate, that's when you make the high quality decisions. That's when you do the strategic work. That's when you do the difficult stuff. Do you know that your accuracy in decision making as an executive goes down by 0.9% for every hour in the day after 8 a.m.? If your CFO tells you, I'm not going to make a decision about that until tomorrow at 9 a.m., that's why. He's got a good coach. Pat your head and rub your stomach. Stand up. You need to stretch. Come on now. Get up. Let's try again. One more thing, just to remind us that we are all frogs. Let's pat our heads and rub our stomachs. We feel good, right? Feel good. Oh man, you all look ridiculous. Like frogs. All right, good. Sit down. Sit down. Yeah, I knew we would need that break. Right, we're almost done. And then I'm going to take a couple of questions from you because I know this is a lot. Okay? Step 10, focus your environment. And this is a very, very difficult one. And this one you have to pay attention to because you're the frog. No distractions. A distraction is something that comes from inside your head. No interruptions. An interruption is something that comes from outside of your head. No notifications. This is hard. You ready? Okay, after this, I'd like you to just Google me. Okay, look at what I do with my life. Stalk me a little bit on LinkedIn, and then imagine me living my life with 0 notifications. I have no notifications. My phone never rings. It never beeps. It never vibrates. I check my WhatsApp when I decide to, which is usually 3 or 4 times a day.
How are your kids reaching you then?
They're not. Actually, you know what? I have a Samsung. Not that I'm not promoting, but they have a feature where only favorite people can call. Yeah, so my wife and kids, it's true, they can get through to me. But even Simone, my business manager, there she is. Simone's my business manager. She's not on my favorites list. I'm sorry, Simone. I love you. But yeah, my phone never rings. And that is because when I'm concentrating on something strategic, when I'm working with a client or when I'm working on writing a book or doing research, I need to focus. If I break my focus, you will break your focus. On average, you will be interrupted by a notification every 40 seconds every day of your life. on average, if you have your notifications on, about every 40 seconds. And if you're in flow, when you're interrupted, it'll take you an average of 23 minutes to regain your focus and concentration. How many of you know what flow is? Really, that's it, hey? What is it? You tell me. Yeah.
Like it's like your train of thought, how you're like able to concentrate on a task.
Perfect. How many of you have ever worked so hard that you would say you were in the zone and you lost track of time? Hands up. You lost track of time. And then at some point you had this experience, you've been conscious the whole time, but you weren't aware of it. And then you had this experience of kind of waking up at your desk and you go, whoa, wow, I sure did a lot. And you look at your watch and like 3 hours has gone by. Have you ever had that experience? That's flow. In flow, you are more creative, more accurate, more innovative, and you're about 5 times more productive than you are outside of flow. You ever wonder how some executives seem to have 36 hours a day? That's how we do it. I started using flow as a tool when I was 26 years old. I was at a Starbucks. I didn't know I had this. I thought actually something was wrong with me mentally. But I would get this big cup of coffee and set it on the desk, and I would have my laptop open and I would start researching and doing my writing, and then I would have that experience. I would reach out, grab my coffee, and it was cold. And it was so disappointing. And I was disappointed because my coffee was cold, but 4 hours had gone by, and I didn't remember reading, but I remember everything I read. I don't remember writing, but I remember everything that I wrote. It's a really cool kind of superpower that we have if we can get into flow. But the most important ingredient in flow is unitasking. How many of you are really, really good with multitasking? Really good at it. Yeah, you can do like 8 things at once. Okay. That's a myth. It's one of the most well-known myths in neuroscience. You cannot multitask. There's no such thing. You can switch back and forth from one thing to the next very quickly at a cost of extra energy, extra mental energy. It costs you water and it costs you calories to do that. And you reach decision fatigue earlier in the day if you consistently do that. So at a cost, you can switch back and forth from one thing to the next. But make no mistake, you will never focus on more than one thing at one time. And if you're still challenging me on that, try again with your circle and your triangle, just to see how many things you can actually focus on at once. You really can't. Now, you can earn the right to focus on things without thinking about them. That's flow. Have you ever been in your car and you drive home and you pull up into your parking lot and you stop, but you have no memory of driving home? Right. Okay, I used to freak out about that. I thought there was something wrong. No, it's not. That's flow. You've actually earned the right to do something very complex without being aware that you're doing it. You were probably faster, more accurate, more creative in your driving than you've ever been. If you can unitask, your chances of slipping into flow will be better. In flow, you're 500% more productive. And the neurochemistry of flow is very close to the neurochemistry of other very, very pleasurable things that I can't mention in public because it's not professional. Yeah, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, norepinephrine, that's your chemical cocktail. So you'll finish the day and say, wow, that was amazing. Look what I did, and I had the best day of my life. But you have to unitask. You have to get rid of the distractions. And God forbid if any of you are wearing a smartwatch, you should remove it. I'm telling you, those things are specifically engineered to distract you as many times as they possibly can. They're there to break your focus as often as possible so that you're looking at the watch and not what you're supposed to be looking at. And they do it every time, and they're so good because on the other side of this screen is 10,000 engineers. Each and every one of them has a supercomputer and AI, and all of them are working all day, every day to try to break my focus, and they're better than me. And if I don't turn the notifications off and I don't remove my smartwatch, I'm no match for them. I won't get anything done. Last one, archive. I have a graveyard in my Monday.com Kanban board. It's called the archive. I have an automation on my dump list. Anything that is not blocked, batched, scheduled, or delegated that sits on my list for more than 60 days is automatically in the background sorted into the archive list. The archive list is my list of good intentions. It is there. The reason I do not delete them, because if I delete them, the opportunity grabbing machine that I've been blessed with, right, a million years of opportunity, right? Your ancestors survived by grabbing every opportunity and mitigating every threat. Well, the number of opportunities was maybe 12 every day. The fruit is ripe. That person is smiling at you. You can trade with them. Okay? Now we have thousands of opportunities every day. The number of threats might have been 3 or 4. That's a stranger. That looks poisonous. Okay, but we're dealing with thousands of opportunities every day now. And the fact is, the Eisenhower matrix and the 7 habits of highly effective people is no longer robust enough for the complexity of the lives that we live. Everything is important, and everything is urgent. Are you ready? Good. If it sits on your to-do list for 60 days, it's just a good intention.
60 days too long?
60 days. Look, 60 days is what I prescribe. 60 days is what I use. That gives me a chance, because some of my decision-making cycles are about 60 days. Nothing is ever on my task list or my to-do list or my dump list for more than 60 days. It's always sorted out. Now, I don't delete it because then the mechanism in your head that's connected to the amygdala will freak out. Okay, you will have cortisol and adrenaline pumping through your blood going, why did you delete that? What if we need that? Okay, what if a year from now we actually write that book? Where are we going to find out what to call it? So I sorted onto an archive list that gives my brain permission to forget about it because it knows where to get it later if it needs it. I have, in the last 8 years of maintaining my archive list, never once referred to it. Not once. And those, I mean, look, like I said, it's very practical, it's very strategic, it's not sexy at all. But those are the tactics for adapting to the increase in expectation and making sure that you, as a frog ninja, are better equipped to handle the rising temperature of the water, because it will not stop rising. This, if you can imagine it, is the least complex your life will ever be. In 10 years from now, it will be much more complex to the same degree as your life was less complex 10 years ago. So, are you the leapfrog ninja that we're looking for? Is this practical for you? Is it helpful? How many of you found something in here that will probably improve the quality of your life? Awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, look, it is my job as a coach to be inspiring and to give you great mindset, right? It is my job as a coach to give you good strategy, but if I'm not giving you tactics to manage that strategy and to actually apply that mindset, I don't think I've done my job very well. I have a little bit of time for questions if anybody has them. Yeah, go ahead. How often do I plan? It depends on the planning cycle. My vision, mission, and values and goals for my personal life.
Your week, do you plan on a weekly basis, the day before?
No, on the fly. Like dynamic financing. My planning is on the fly, so my calendar is always being updated whenever I do triage. I'm constantly putting things into my calendar. Calls, emails, proposals, whatever. It just goes immediately into my calendar so I don't have to think about it again.
Do you have a priority and have to change it for the next day? You know, plan it on the triage?
That's correct. So this is a really good question. What happens if you've blocked strategy time with yourself and then something comes up that's super important? Once I've blocked time for myself, I never delete it. I can move it, but it never gets deleted. That's just a decision that I made a number of years ago. That's what allows me to publish a book every year. Nobody's ever going to be standing over my shoulder saying, get your book done, Corey. It's never going to be urgent. But if I'm not reading at least 2 books a week, I'm going to be irrelevant as a coach at some point. If I'm not writing a book a year or doing some sort of certification or postgraduate degree every 18 months, I'm irrelevant. And nobody's ever going to make me do that. So I block that time. And I defend it by moving it, never ever deleting it. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever get tired and think, I will not do this?
Do I ever get tired and think I will not do this?
One day.
Very, very rarely. I am the most disciplined person I've ever met. Discipline, by the way, is the ability to choose your behavior regardless of how you feel. The only exception for me to that is real physical illness. But 99 times out of 100, I choose my behavior regardless of how I feel. Yeah, and that's a momentum thing too. Once you start doing it, your ability to do it gets better. Discipline is like a muscle, it's a skill. Yeah?
Hi, Tom here. One question, how do you put energy management into all of it?
What kind of energy? What do you mean? Like you're just physical energy?
Physical energy, you can be in flow.
Yeah, of course.
You can maximize time up to a certain level.
Yes.
Then you have to maximize energy.
That's correct. Yeah, so I eat when you're supposed to eat. I sleep when I'm supposed to eat, sleep. Okay, so here, very, very good principle for you if you want to be a frog ninja. Okay? You do not get stronger in the gym. You get weaker. You do not get stronger at work. You get weaker. You're using calories, you're burning glycogen, your muscles are tearing in the gym. When do we get stronger? When we sleep, that's correct. Both physically and mentally, the process is exactly the same. Your brain is just as active when you're sleeping as it is when you're awake because it is building that recovery cycle and making you stronger. That's why when you exercise a lot, you wake up with sore muscles because they're new. They've never been used before. Okay? Same thing psychologically. If you are consistently wearing yourself down and you are not recovering, you will break down. You will end up with post-traumatic stress disorder or an anxiety attack or overwhelm. If you want to maintain your energy levels, you have to have good sleep. You have to have a good recovery strategy. And just scientifically, in case you didn't know, men need around 7 hours a night and women 7 hours and 20 minutes. Because scientifically, beauty sleep is a thing. Who knew? Yeah. So yes, by the way, these are really horrible statistic. You're going to hate me for this one, Pedro. If you sleep less than 6 hours a night for 2 nights in a row, your productivity and your decision-making quality will go down by 12.1% for the 6 days subsequent, even if you catch up on your sleep in night 3. You are not a machine part. You are not a robot. We are humans, not resources, and we are not capital. I know capital. I know how capital behaves. We are not capital. We are messy and weird and unbelievably selfish and creative and loving and sometimes mean. And if you're married, like me, sometimes all to the same person on the same day. Yeah, you have to have a good recovery if you're going to maintain your energy. For me, my pattern right now, I'm up at 5 in the morning, every morning. I exercise. I either do CrossFit or I run 8 kilometers with a 10 kg weight vest on. Don't be impressed. That's me doing it because it's hard. I choose the hard things because they're hard. But that allows me to maintain my energy levels throughout the day. Today, as I stand before you, I have not consumed a single calorie. Next, yes.
Have you ever worked in a corporate?
Have I ever worked?
In a corporate?
Yes, I have actually. I have been interim chief strategy officer, interim CEO, and interim CFO for companies of more than 1,000 each of them.
No, less than sea level.
Less than sea level? No. No.
In Dubai?
In Dubai, yes. Yeah. And I've also started and exited 5 of my own successful businesses. Yeah, it's fun. But it's like having a baby. If you've ever started a business, it's like having a baby. It's just 2 years of screaming and torture.
My point is that, do you think those also apply in any culture, in any place, in any corporate?
We are all the frog, and the water affects us all the same. The complexity of the world is something that none of our ancestors could have ever prepared us for. Oh, this is like Star Trek. Yeah, one more. Oh, I can hear you, yes. And then I'll come back to you. I see your striped shirt. Go.
So, just an interesting question. Are our managers aligned that we will be following the Leapfrog protocol?
No. In fact, nobody's aligned on this. No one outside of my own executive coaching clients has seen this. The frog was designed by Dolly specifically for you today. Okay? The research behind at least 6 of these is still ongoing, and some of what I've talked to you about today, the research was only completed last week. That's why it's not sexy. That's why it's not more slick and elegant. I don't have a notebook for you or an anagram that you can follow. It's not like that. I'm just trying to give you the best of what science has available for you. Look, I am very well known as a leadership expert in the region. This is true, but I tell people all the time, if you want to learn leadership, don't follow me, follow the science, because that's what I'm doing. You want to know how to lead, you want to be a high performer, you want to manage well, there's science behind all of this. We don't have to live the crazy kind of catch-up, overwhelmed lives that we've built for ourselves. And yes, you can, in 24 hours, get everything done that you want to get done. But you're going to have to leave some other really good things undone. The most terrible truth that our ancestors haven't prepared us for is abundance. We live in the most abundant time in all of human history. There's better technology, communications, transportation, healthcare than your ancestors could have ever dreamed of. And the biggest problem we have now is that there are too many good things to do. You're not deciding between the good and the bad. You're deciding between the good and the good and the good and all these opportunities. And there are many, many more good things to do every day than you can possibly do. That is your biggest problem. That is why you will consistently accept the heat of the water. That is why you will become overwhelmed. And that is why some of you will end up with anxiety attacks. And then you'll remember this and you'll wish you'd written it down. All right, how much time have I got? 2 minutes. 2 minutes, yes, go ahead. Yep. Mm-hmm.
A lot of coaches advocate that if it's something which can be done in 5 seconds, you should act upon it, otherwise your brain or instincts kill it if you don't act upon it. So how do you use this dumb list? Mm-hmm. And I want to understand also, do you segregate your personal to-do list or your workplace to-do list? If you can
Yeah, very good questions, very good questions. First of all, there's no segregation, okay? Because there's no such thing as work-life balance. That's also a myth. Somebody made that up in the 1980s so that we could dehumanize employees, so that when we told you you weren't invited to the job anymore, it's not like you lost your life, you just lost your job. None of your ancestors prepared you for that. Okay? All of your ancestors were evolved to understand that your job is your life. Who you are in society is who you are, which is why still when somebody meets you for the first time, they say, "What's your name?" "Tom." "What do you do?" is always the next question. Except here, maybe in Dubai, it's like, "How long have you been in Dubai?" because everybody's not from here. Right? But pretty much the second question is, what do you do? Because we want to know who you are. Is what you do. And if you're at home on the weekend and your boss calls and says, "There's a crisis at work, we need your help," yes, you will come. And if you're at work and your spouse calls and says, "One of your kids is in the hospital, we need you, can you come?" Your work is going to say it's okay, because there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's a myth. No, there's no segregation on my dump list between personal and professional. I write all of the things, everything, all of my good intentions go on the dump list, and I sort them when I triage. The second question you asked was about the 5-second rule. Okay, this comes from Mel Robbins, and the science behind it is far deeper than she even goes into. But when you initially have this kind of spark, "Oh, I should do this," right? You're sitting on the couch and you think, "I should go for a run." You get a hit of dopamine for that in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, right here next to the reward and achievement center of your brain. Your brain rewards you just for thinking about it. Okay? Do you know how long that reward lasts? About 40 seconds. If you just sit there on the couch for 40 seconds, what happens? The dopamine burns off, but it's worse than that. None of your ancestors ever gave up on an opportunity. So if it's a goal that leads you to improve the quality of your life, your ancestors just kind of get up and get on with it. If you don't get up and get on with it, your brain rewards you for avoiding the risk associated with whatever you were intending to do. You get a second hit of dopamine, but it's not here. It's in the anterior insula of your brain next to the risk avoidance center. Your brain rewards you for intending to do something, and then 40 seconds later, it rewards you again for not doing it. That's why you can become heroin level chemically addicted to not getting it done. It feels great. None of your ancestors prepared you for this level of opportunity. So the 5-second rule, stand up. If you feel the initiative, yes, I need to go for a run, stand up, go for the run. If that's not in your schedule and you're not, supposed to be going for a run right now, just write it down. At least you're moving in that direction. And if you don't want to go for the run, at least put on your shoes. Reward yourself for crossing the starting line instead of avoiding the race altogether. Okay, just put your shoes on. Make that the goal. I don't need to go for a run. I just need to tie my shoes. So that's the beginning of the science of discipline. I've got a whole 3-hour masterclass just on discipline. But that's for another time. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. You will never get this time back. So I hope it was as meaningful for you as it was for me.